Hello, everyone. I'm back for a book review. I couldn't resist. At least the book lover in me couldn't resist. Today I'm going to be reviewing book 0, which looks like so. And I found this accidentally, but I think it was very serendipitous. So it's called Book 0, The Book That Should Not Be. And if you are interested in ordering it, I think you have to follow Morg or the Hyperion website and see when it goes on sale, because they have like specific times when everyone's asleep that they put it on sale. Nice strategy. Anyway, so it's called Book 0, The Book That Should Not Be. And I found it very revolutionary. It has no author, and I'm not sure who wrote it. I have a feeling it was Morg, but I could be wrong. It could be him and with collaboration with other people. So really, there's no way of knowing unless someone asks him directly. And the book starts off saying that this book is not for you if you have not killed your illusory self and denied mainstream religion. You also must have a foundation in pure reason and uphold pure reason and logic above all else. The other faculties, such as intuition, emotion, and senses, are in service to reason and logic. I find this reminiscent of other philosophers, ancient philosophers, such as Aristotle. There's several more. So it's not really a new concept, but I think they're trying to revive it, which makes sense. Anyhow, the author or authors go on to say that reason must guide the other faculties and not the other way around. So far, so good. I don't know why they're being called evil, to be honest. I don't see anything evil in these teachings. Anyhow, the book is divided into 3 books. Book 1 is called The Dark Secret, and it describes the workings of the mind and reality. And it says that reality is made up of rational laws and is composed of energy and information. And basically, the dark secret is that all is mind. But really, it's not a new concept either. I think it's in Hermeticism, the Kabbalion, and also in Ayurveda. Then the brain is not the mind, but the mind controls the brain, just as it controls the entire body. So that being the fundamental concept, there are 2 more. That everything happens according to reason and everything in existence follows rational rules, and that everything has a purpose. And if nothing has a purpose, nothing would happen, which means everything has a goal. Very rational, and it makes sense. I agree. Energy being the code of the universe and can be considered information, and all that is in existence has a mental aspect to it. Again, this is not really a new concept. And then they say that when the body dies, the mind disconnects and links to another body, and it cannot be destroyed and it cannot die. This book compares the mind to a computer and says that we all have the same contents, but they are ordered differently. Otherwise, we would not be able to relate to each other. Mind is always striving to become symmetrical. Although each mind is responsible to optimize itself, the goal is not to do this in a selfish way. Minds are at different stages of evolution. It takes a long time to get to the symmetrical mind. What are the consequences of what is described in this book? So they talk about these in book 2, that everything in reality is trying to optimize itself. And when one is conscious of this, then they can make progress faster. So self-awareness is important in this understanding. To be able to understand what reality is, we each have a goal. We also begin to move faster towards it. So by understanding that what reality is and that we're all trying to optimize, we start to move faster towards our symmetry or optimization. And then they talk about the philosophy of struggle. There will always be struggle, and it has a purpose to move us forward. If we see struggle as a positive, that it serves a purpose, and same as fear also serves a purpose, and that is to move us forward into optimizing. And in this book, they talk about love, or the human concept of love, which they say is actually just about attraction. And it's attraction on different levels: physical, emotional, intuitive, and rational. And they say the physical attraction is sexual, emotional is having feelings of pleasure, or that the other person will be providing feelings of pleasure. And the intuitive is a deep mental connection. And then there's the rational, which is gaining progress by being around that person. So they inspire us in some way or the other just by us being around them, or maybe just by them being in the world. I certainly have some people who inspire me just by being in the world. And some people not so much, just by being in the world as well. It goes both ways. Oops, big disclosure. Anyway, each of us requires these in different intensities, and when it reaches a certain level, we call it love. Fair enough. I actually like this description of what the human concept of love is. They also talk about how as we get more ordered and symmetrical, we move towards more of like wanting to be in that rational space where the person, we love the person for inspiring us, but it varies in intensities for different people. So some people might value the physical more than the rational. And they also say that it depends on at what level your mind has reached, because there's like different levels of mind. Then they talk about polyamory versus monogamy. And they are not saying that one is better than the other, but that they are for the freedom of choice. With polyamory, you do not look for perfection, but grow and learn, because each person brings something to your life that the other cannot. And they say that it is easier to break up if you're in a polyamorous relationship as opposed to a monogamous one, because you're not so fully concentrated on that one person. You have other people that you're with. So this has been a topic that I have been not struggling with, but trying to really understand the concept of polyamory, because I come from a background of very strict religious views. However, funny enough, there's also something called polygamy, where you can have many husbands or many wives, more like many wives. And for me, I've never really embraced this idea, as hard as I try to completely embrace it. There's something in me that's always trying to rationalize the other way, which is monogamy. And it's just my thing. I have to admit, not that I have anything opposed to people who are polyamorous. It's just that my choice is not to be so. And actually, I have a question around this. It's true that you can do this with one person at a time, because you don't have to promise eternity to them. so you can be in the relationship and live it one moment at a time or one day at a time, and not be, oh, this is gonna last forever, we're in this forever, and then all of a sudden leave. That's what I call lies. I think we're all capable of not treating others like property, even in a monogamous relationship, when there's open communication, when there's people talking about how they're feeling and what their needs are, and communicating and listening. We don't really need to have multiple partners to be able to achieve that. We could have multiple partners, but why do they all have to be at the same time? Why can't they be one after the other? Is what I'm saying. If the purpose is growth, we can grow with one person and then grow with another one. We don't have to grow with 4 people at a time. But then that's a personal choice, and it's just me trying to rationalize and discuss these things, because it's definitely something that I'm interested in and I've been wanting to write about in my book that I keep talking about. But this is perfect because it's sort of helping me put things into perspective. So I'm glad I happened upon this book. So then it goes on to describe how we create from chaos, as we are made of both lower and higher nature. We cannot suppress our lower nature, which is our shadow, and must let it come to the surface, because this is how we are able to destroy and create. And the Hyperions go on to say that they're against gender roles. Anyone can wear makeup if they wish to, and they're all about women's liberation. And I totally agree, and allowing for sexual expression and not repression. And those are things that I completely agree with, and I really don't see anything evil in these, to be honest. I'm not sure what the lashback has been all about, but these are rational views. And so they also say that unconditional love is dangerous, and I agree. It's a concept that I've heard a lot in spiritual circles, and it's also a way of bypassing. It's a spiritual bypass mechanism. And because you cannot love someone who causes you harm. You can wish them well. Maybe you can love them from far away, but you cannot love them up close. Then they talk about the circle and spiral theory, and they take the example of the working a job that stifles you, and that would be more of a circular pattern because you're going around and around in a circle. Whereas in a spiral job, you're moving more towards growth. So there's like potential of moving up because the spiral is moving up. And the end of this book, book 2, they talk about how it's important to master one's emotions. And I think that is mind over matter. Then the last book, book 3, is called The Catalyst and the Final Cause. And this is a great, great read for anyone who is wanting to create something fabulous or looking to transform things in some way or the other. They begin the book by talking about how the physical body is a gateway, and some of us are empty gateways, and that there's a purpose, that we need to use this body for a purpose, and that is for the final cause, which is the perfection of reality. And to do this, we can create a catalyst and put it out in the world, and this catalyst can be anything. And it actually gives us the steps of trying to make this catalyst as powerful and what is the word? As powerful as it can be, so that it can cause transformation in humanity. And they say that it usually aligns with a person's work or what they're supposed to be doing here. They can choose to address an issue that they care about through using different creative means, such as music, art, books, the web. And then the book ends with a ritual and a quiz. The quiz is to see if you have the capacity to be Hyperion, or if you make the cut, basically. I'm not going to disclose what happened with the quiz. Anyway, as I was cooking dinner tonight and thinking about the book, I had an insight about reason. And it might just not be an insight. It was my moment of like, oh, wow, light bulb, okay. I was thinking, because when I think of reason and logic, it feels like you're using the mind, which is sort of opposing meditation, because in meditation, we're stilling the mind and all the chatter. We don't really want that faculty to be active. However, what I thought was that when we meditate, we are actually stopping the stories. But when we are using reason and logic, we're actually trying to solve a problem. So we are focusing on this problem. In a way, it's meditative because we're using extreme focus on one thing. So it's very similar to meditation. And we're using this mind to try to understand the essence of something. And when we do this, it usually leads us to insight or inspiration. And it not necessarily has to be an insight that happens in the moment or at the same time, but it could be something that takes place later. Like I was reading the book for a couple of days, and when I took a break and went to cook, I actually had this insight about insight. Anyhow, this is the book, and if you want it, try and grab it, but you gotta follow Morg or the Hyperion website. And good luck. And I'll see you next time, because next time is going to be the book review on Sex and the Young, a book from the 1920s. Oh, and before I go, if there are any books you'd like me to review, please write them down in the message section, and I'd be happy to review them. Okay, take care. Until next time, keep reading.